Today, we'll be taking a look at some of the basic skills you should be working on in order to keep yourself going in times of crisis while traveling way off the beaten path. Whether you've wandered too far from the established hiking trail or you've got your bug-out bag and you're on the run, these are things you should be thinking about and practicing now rather than later. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started in somewhat of an order. Number 1, finding and purifying water. Believe it or not, food is not a maximum priority. You can go quite a long time without a meal, but you won't last very long without fresh water. So you should practice finding it. Listen for it. Water has a distinct rushing or flowing sound. If you can't hear anything, look for animal tracks. I guarantee they know where the local water sources are. Remember also that water flows downhill, so search out low spots. And take notice of the direction of birds early in the morning. Many species of birds will fly towards a water source at first light. When you find it, hopefully you have a life straw or some water purification tablets in your bag. Ideally, you may even have a metal container that can be heated over a fire to boil the water. Number 2, selecting a campsite. Try to seek out an elevated position to avoid flooding, and preferably with some sort of clearing. Nasty creatures often lurk in tall grass, and the less interaction you have with snakes and other critters, the better. Large boulders and thick trees can often provide protection against the wind, as well as be a reflective shield for heat if you need to get a fire going. Be sure to pick a spot that doesn't look like it may have falling branches or rolling rocks. Number 3, making a shelter. Hopefully, you at least have a tarp and some cordage in your bag so that you can put up a temporary shelter. If not, you'll have to resort to a basic lean-to with branches or whatever else you can scavenge from your immediate surroundings. Number 4, starting a fire. A fire is not only important for keeping you warm, but it does help keep critters away. Also, unless you don't want to be seen, it's a good way to be found if you are lost. Again, hoping you have a properly stocked pack of supplies. One would assume you have matches, flint, and or other fire-starting paraphernalia, as well as possibly even some sort of accelerant to help get it going. If not, you'll have to resort to doing it the old-fashioned way, of which there are too many methods to list, but hopefully you at least are familiar with one of them. I know it's time-consuming, but hey, it's not like you have anything else to do. Number 5, keeping warm. Okay, so let's say you have no fire and no hopes of making one. You have no supplies, everything is damp, and it's raining. Best you can do is try to stay dry and layer yourself against the elements. Be sure to place something between you and the ground if you intend to lay down to help keep you insulated. Number 6, finding food. So you're hungry, and apparently you didn't pack any protein bars or jerky in your pack. Shame on you for not thinking ahead. This is when most people will try to hunt or fish. Fish, birds, snakes, squirrels, and other critters can make for a decent meal if you can catch them, and if you have time to prepare them properly. Keep in mind, these must be cleaned and properly cooked. In fact, it may serve you better to forage for a meal, gathering edible plants or even insects. Remember not to eat any plant you are not familiar with, and avoid insects with more than 6 legs. Here's hoping that you have an edible plant guide in your bag. Number 7, stay out of trouble. Basically, be aware of your surroundings, move safely, avoid animals, and don't take unnecessary risks. And do know your limitations. You may be in a position where you have to push yourself hard, but try not to push yourself past your boundaries unless you absolutely have no choice. If you're weak, injured, or exhausted, you'll make mistakes, and it could cost you your life. Number 8, fix yourself up. This tip is a reminder that you should at least know basic first aid and should have practiced it on yourself. If we're assuming that you're alone in the wilderness, then there is no one there to help fix you up if you're injured. This goes hand in hand with number 7 on the list. If you end up with a deep cut, a broken leg, or a serious burn, it could mean your life out in the middle of nowhere. Number 9. Find your way around. Here's hoping that you have a compass. And better still, here's hoping you actually know how to use it. More to the point, if you don't know how to use a compass properly, whether you have one or not, then you probably shouldn't have been wandering around in the woods in the first place. Also, while you were learning how to navigate by compass, it would have been a good idea to learn how to get around without one. Telling direction from sunrise and sunset is a good place to start. And number 10, knot tying. Sounds rudimentary, but tying knots is really one of man's earliest skill sets. And ironically, we currently live in an age when most adults can barely tie their own shoes. You don't have to know anything really fancy. You're probably too old for a merit badge anyways. But just a handful of basics is more than enough to get you by in a pinch. And hopefully you have at least a small bundle of cordage in your bag. And you just knew I had one more for you, didn't you? Call it number 11 if you will. Self-defense. So what would you have to defend yourself against in the woods? You never know, so be prepared. You could run into a dangerous animal, or much worse, a dangerous person. And you may not have a firearm, but you should at least have some classic tools to defend yourself with, such as a knife, a handheld hatchet, saw, or survival shovel, or some other tool. It helps also to know how to improvise such implements like a spear, a bow, a sling, as well as some basic skill with your handmade tool of choice. So I hope you found this list helpful. If you have any other suggestions, please feel free to post them in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up, easiest way to show your appreciation. Share the video if you can, and subscribe if you are new, and so on. If you would like to help the channel out, there are links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. And that being said, what more can I say but stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.